Okay. So basically, I feel like Courtney has shared about this a couple of times as far as finding good things and good ways to know what to post and kind of how to share your story on a post and really make it engaging for people. And so basically you can kind of draw like a T-chart. And so on one side, write out a list of the things that you have personally struggled with. Write out basically like who you were before you started this journey. So like for me, I've talked about being somebody who was, very almost addicted to calorie counting and had a really unhealthy relationship with the scale. And I would only do cardio because I didn't know how to do anything else. And I've been on the other end of the extreme spectrum and just eaten all the junk food and not cared about it. And so like all of these things about who I was and the things that I struggled with before I came into Beachbody are things that I use to share in posts and in stories. And so I think that writing them out that way on the T-chart is really beneficial for you to see, because if you're struggling with something, or if you have struggled with something in the past, you're 100% not the only person who is struggling or has struggled with it. I made a post last week about with a box of Cheez-Its, talking about how in college one of my roommates was giving me a hard time for literally counting out every single Cheez-It I was eating because I was so crazy and needed to log them in MyFitnessPal perfectly. And I literally had someone reach out to me after I made that post and say, "Oh my God, I so appreciate that you shared that. Like that, I have struggled with the exact same thing. Like I literally was in the same position as you." And so like this story that seems so insignificant about my roommate giving me a hard time about counting Cheez-Its is something that other people relate to and helps me build those relationships and those connections. And then on the other side of your T-chart, write about all of the things that you've noticed changing in your life or in your body since you've started Beachbody. For me, it's not just the weight loss, it's how much confidence I found, how much more energy I have, how much better I feel all around. It's things like when my husband tells me I look hot, I truly believe him, as opposed to being like, "Oh my God, no." All of these different changes, it's not just the physical stuff, like it's the mental and the emotional things too. And so you can post from both sides of that chart and basically tie them in together. When I made the post about the Cheez-Its, I then went back at the end of that post and I talked about finding freedom with my nutrition and my food choices, learning how to live balanced and not be shackled to a meal plan. And then I put in a little call to action at the end of it, like, girl, if you're struggling with the same thing, let me know. My new group is coming up. I would love to help you work through that. And I think that we can kind of get in our own heads feeling like, God, I don't know what to share, or I don't have anything valuable or worthwhile to share, when we have these little nuggets in our life that really could be impactful to somebody reading them. And you never know what your Cheez-It post might be that really touches somebody and reaches them. And like that's one of those things that I never would have posted about had I not been thinking about, like, okay, what did I struggle with in the past? What have I really kind of overcome through this journey? And how have I improved my life? And so those are kind of the two ends of the spectrum that I really like to try and talk about. And I try to mix my social media up. I've talked about this before. Like, I never want my social media to look like I'm vomiting Beachbody. I mean, we've all seen people who do that, and like that's just not what I'm about. I always, when somebody comes to my page, I don't want them just to see somebody who's only the health and fitness girl, because there's so much more to me, and the more to me is what really connects with other people. So for me, I share a lot of posts too about my faith, about things that I'm reading in personal development books, things about being an Enneagram 3. And so that's kind of another list that you can make to share from, as well as like make a list of like what makes you you. Like if I were to take this cup and I was going to fill it up with you, what would the contents of this cup be? Like, you know, I'm a dog mom, I'm a wife, I'm an Enneagram 3, I'm a Tennessee Volunteers fan, I bleed orange and white. Like all of these things are part of what makes me who I am. And so I want to share all of those things too and attract my people and really build relationships and connections with my people. And so it doesn't just have to be like, who was I before and after I started Beachbody? It can be, who am I just in general? You know, both, like you two ladies who are on here right now, you're both moms, both got kids in different seasons of their lives and doing homeschooling or activities in the middle of this madness that is 2020. And like, you know, you just have all of these other things that make you so unique. And like, those are cool things for you to share too. You know, mix your posts up and let people see the real you. Kind of give them a glimpse into who you are. I try as like a general rule of thumb to kind of like mix my posts as, you know, maybe I do a fitness post and then maybe just a post that's got like a little funny, witty, short caption or something, a post with family and friends, a post about my faith, and then maybe a coaching post. And so I kind of try to do this little like rotation. I mean, I don't have like a specific science to it where I've like mapped out this is what I'm posting on these days, because for as organized as I am, that's just a little bit too much for me. Plus I need a little flexibility in my life. So it's not like an exact science. You don't need to stress about it, but I try to kind of have a rotation going, and that I feel like gives people more of a sense of who I am than anything, because then they're seeing all these different aspects and they're seeing it multiple times. A lot of times when we're posting things on social media, there's a lot of people in our feed who won't see it just based on the algorithm, or you know, who are just doing the scroll and tap and they're liking your picture and not really reading your captions. And so we need multiple touches a lot of times to really, for people to really get to know us and to really kind of get our message across and to really express who we are, for people to see us and feel like they know us. They're going to need multiple touches. And as we're making that rotation, it's giving them a good sense of who we are. I totally just scrolled off. My dog's like barking over here at nothing. He probably hears the neighbor's car and he's a train wreck. But I would say those are kind of my biggest tips. Like, use your before and after who you were in Beachbody, and use your what makes you you to share on your page. I feel like I make a regular post almost every day, and even if I miss a day of a post, like that's not a huge deal, but I am in my stories every single day. Even if it's nothing that's Beachbody related, because again, I try not to make my entire story just like 20 clips of a workout. I try to keep it to like 3 to 5 workout clips, share a few things like about my day or about my life. I share the really cool, delicious things that I find at Sam's Club, or the coffee that I ordered, or an outfit that I'm wearing, or cute pictures of my dog because I'm obsessed with him. So I kind of do the little rotation on my story too. And I'm on my story every single day, and I get most of my engagement and most of the people who sign up with me from my stories. I also, if you're not talking in any of your stories, I highly encourage talking in your stories, because people feel like they know you when they hear your voice. And there's something just so powerful about that. And we have so much power with our words and letting people really get to know us. And I know it's super uncomfortable at first, but I promise it gets better. I was super uncomfortable hopping on Zoom calls and leading team calls when I first started doing this. And now it's just another Thursday night hanging with the girls for me. So don't be intimidated to talk on your stories or to share things on your stories or to feel like, oh my gosh, I'm not good enough. I don't have enough going on, or like I don't know how to express this correctly. People enjoy the real too. So if you are fumbling over your words, like Emily Faber was posting a video about a sports bra that she was linking for people to shop, and she like totally had like one of those word vomit moments, and like none of it came out correctly when she's trying to talk about how cute it is. And she just laughed about herself, and people connect with that because it makes her look like a real human. So don't even be nervous about that. I do that all the time in videos, and I'm like, okay, whatever. Yeah, I mean, those are probably my biggest tips and the things that I feel like have really helped me the most. Do y'all have any questions? I know I kind of can spit a lot of words out pretty quickly.
You're fine. I do have a question. You mentioned last week how to find people on there by other things you like. So if you like one of the companies you like, I thought it was really neat, Daily Grace. But do you go there and just go through who likes that company, or like there's a purse store in Savannah I like, but like some of those might have 10,000 or a million followers, and it's a lot of people.
So I will periodically go and like look through their followers. I'm not going to look through all of them. I'll typically spend, maybe 10 or 15 minutes doing that. And one of the quickest and easiest ways for you to weed out profiles to click on, if they've got that little circle around their profile picture, that means that they have stories and you can see their stories, which means their account is public. So you can actually see their profile, see if there's somebody that you feel like you would connect with, and then you can just shoot them a friend request, maybe do a little message back to something on their stories, only if you actually have something that you like a genuine comment on their stories, not just some generic like, oh hey, cool story or whatever. Or like one of their pictures. I don't do the whole like 3 to 5 of their pictures. I think that looks super spammy. So typically I'll maybe like one picture. If I've got something to say, I'll comment on it too, send them a follow, and then keep going.
Okay.
But yeah, that's a quick way for you to kind of weed out, and instead of having to look through like 8 million profiles that are all on private and not being able to like, because if I'm taking the time to add somebody on Instagram, I want it to be somebody that I feel like I would genuinely connect with in real life, because otherwise they're probably not going to want to work with me if I wouldn't want to connect with them in real life anyway, because they're probably not my peeps.
Okay.
Anything else?
That was my biggest question. I wanted to find out how to, because I've been trying to go through there and starting to post. I just didn't know how to find new people.
Yeah, and a lot of times too, there will be somebody that maybe I've added just like from one of those pages or whatever, and it's somebody that I really like, or maybe I've made a connection with, and they'll tag like one of their BFFs in a story, and I'll click on her page, and if she looks like somebody I want to be friends with, I add her too.
Okay.
So I just like friends of friends are great to add too. And again, like I said, I always I'm living for it.
The spotlight.
I'm here for it. I love it. Jess and I have been talking all the time about how much we have baby fever anyway.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm like, every time I scroll through, like, you know how Instagram kind of has a homepage for you? I'm like, I swear my entire Instagram homepage of suggested people and suggested pictures is all pregnant women and babies.
Really?
Like, Instagram trying to tell me something. I don't know.
I've definitely been looking at like friends of friends, or going back and looking at people that have commented on things or liked things.
Yeah, I send a lot of my invites from that too. Like if I post a fitness related post or a transformation post or something and people are liking and commenting on it, I'll go in and shoot them a message and basically say something simple like, hey, thanks for the love on my transformation post. Really, appreciate the support and encouragement. I don't know if it's something you'd be interested in, but would you want some details? Would you mind if I send you some details on my September boot camp that's starting on the 14th?
Yeah.
So, and I found that the wording of like, would you mind if I send you some details or some info is very non-threatening, and most people are like, yeah, sure, you can send me some information.
Okay, I have something. What about someone who's like, yeah, I'm totally interested in this. Yes, that's something I want to know more. And then you're like, okay, let me get your email, and I can send you an email with all the details. And then they don't send it, and then you like follow back up, and you're like, oh, well, talk about a few things, and be like, yeah, just give me your email, and then they just keep not giving you their email.
I don't typically send an email with the details. I just start a
like
conversation.
share a cart.
Oh yeah.
If she wanted to do the 10 rounds, and I was like, let me send you the pack with all the stuff in it, and you can look at it. I'll just need your email, and nothing. But she's still talking to me. Just not getting.
I mean, people ghost me all the time too. Like they'll be like, "Oh yeah, that sounds awesome, cricket."
But she still talks, so I'm like, okay, well, like, what do you
I've got some of those too. Like they won't respond to anything that's like Beachbody related, but they'll respond to literally anything else I message them about. And sometimes I just like kind of let those conversations go for a little bit, and then I'll circle back like a month later and be like, hey, my new group's starting up. I know we had chatted last month. You want me to go ahead and send you over the email for this month so you can check it out or whatever. But that totally happens to all of us, girl. I wish there was like a solid way around that, but there's always going to be people who ghost you, even if the conversation was great, even if they're like, yes, I'm all in. Yeah, I want to do this program. Yeah, give me the Shakeology.
Then nothing.
It just happens. I just put her in your follow-up list. And just keep having the real conversations with her too, because that just continues to build the relationship. I don't know if she's somebody you're like friends with, but
with your follow-up list, do you actually like write down a list, or you just scroll back in your like messages?
I have a list, but I'm not always the best at it. I do find that it helps because then I can like look back at that and go, oh, hey, yeah, her. I haven't actually talked to her in a while, because there's so many people and conversations going on Instagram or Facebook that sometimes people can kind of get like lost, and I don't want people to fall through the cracks. And so having them actually written down does help me to follow up better. Anything else? Oops, Cindy, you're muted.
I'm sorry. I had to open the garage door for my kids. She's like, I'm home. Can you open the door? And I hear her music already, and I don't even have the door open. It's loud. So different with
teenagers.
Something
I have to tell you, it was, and I have two girls, so it is girls. But even though I know the goal is not always to get people but to touch people, and some of the friends I had joined for the last group, I was so amazed. It was a girl I went to like middle school with, and we're still friends. We don't talk much. And she tells me after my dad passed away, she said, I don't think you know how much they meant to me, because my parents were divorced and he always took me under his wing. She said, your parents were always such a positive influence. But if nothing else comes out of this, that was so wonderful to hear.
Yeah, that's so sweet. And I feel like a lot of times, if we genuinely make an impact on people's lives and we care more about the person and the transformation than the transaction, a lot of those people will end up coming back around. They're the kind of people who, whenever they're mentally ready to make that leap, you're going to be the person that they reach out to, just because that trust in that relationship is there. And I've seen that happen so many times. And that's the way that it goes when you're providing value and you're truly just loving people where they are and inviting them into an opportunity that's changed your life. At some point when they're ready, they'll take the leap. If there's anything I've learned, you can't want it for somebody more than they want it for themselves. They have to be ready to dive into it. And sometimes that commitment can be scary. One of my best friends was nervous about joining me, and she kind of actually ghosted me. Like, somebody who's one of my best friends kind of like blew me off about it. And you know, we ended up having a heart-to-heart conversation when I got that chance to visit with her, and she was like, she's like, I've barely been surviving. Like, I just feel like I can't even keep my head above the water lately, and I just feel like if I start now, I'm not going to stick to it. And a month later, she decided that she was ready and she signed up. But I think sometimes a lot of people have that fear, or maybe there's stuff that's going on in their life and they feel like they're not going to be able to stick with it, or they're, you know, they're not going to commit to it the way that they want to, or they're just scared that they're going to fail. And sometimes seeing you continue to show up and just be there for them makes them find the courage to believe in themselves and take the leap of faith to just say, okay, you know what, I need this. You're right. I need this in my life. Let's just do it. All right. Well, if y'all think of any more questions, just shoot them over to me and I will answer them all. I'm happy to. I promise you guys never bug me with questions. Because I feel like everybody always says, I don't want to bug you. And I'm like, it's fine. I promise. I swear sometimes I'm a little scatterbrained and I don't always check my messages great, but you're never bugging me.
Thank you. That's why I thought, I'm like, I don't want to bug her and ask, but I'll check. And so that sounds good.
I love it. Y'all ask me all the questions. I'm here for it. And it never bothers me.
Okay.
All right. Well, y'all have a good night.
Oh, you too. Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye.
Bye.